Hello and welcome back to Kimboshi Radio after a shorter hiatus than normal because I have found Nick. Luckily, the great winter storms have buried him, but not forever. He was able to burrow his way out, so he's here to talk some sumo with us. Nick, how you been?
I punched through the snow, punched through incredibly terrible sickness for a week, but we're good to go finally.
Gotta love, Christmas and New Year's happen. You see a bunch of people you're not supposed to see, I guess, and then all the germs, just little children everywhere.
Somebody brought the evil to my house, but it's gone.
The darkness has arrived, but you have pushed it away. It's a new year, a new era without sickness, hopefully for you, but in sumo as well. So I wanted to talk about some different things than we talked about last time. We'll still get your picks and dark horses at the end, but I'm really interested this time because January, fresh sumo. Even though there's a tournament every other month, right? So like it's not so much of a break as it would be, I guess, in other sports where there's a full off season. But it still is a new year, and we've been talking time and again about how this new generation has taken over to the point that really, like, half the Bonds-K is this next generation. It's littered with Zoomers. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about what we think their chances are of replicating who is currently the gold star for this generation, Onosato. Onosato bursts onto the scene last year, rises all the way to Ozeki. He's got two different championships. So, Nick, I want to go through here with several different topics and basically just have you give me a thumbs up, thumbs down on each of these people on who you think has a chance at replicating what Onosato did and becoming an Ozeki by the end of this year. How's that sound?
Perfect.
Sweet. And then if you're viewing at home, go ahead and like throw in the comments what you think, thumbs up, thumbs down, if you agree and disagree with us. I'm going to start near the bottom of the Bonds K and we're going to work our way out. So I've kind of picked a few guys. Also, yeah, let me know in the comments if I didn't pick one of your guys. Go ahead and let me know. I've got a list here that I want to talk about. But we're going to start with a returner to the top division. Kinbozan Nick is back. He's a guy who's always had the size and the strength. People had a ton of high hopes for him watching him rise up, and he kind of got slowed down in Juryo and then really did burst on the scene well in Makuuchi, but after back-to-back 4-win tournaments got sent down to Juryo, where now he did just win the Juryo title and he's back. He looked really angry at the start, but kind of lost momentum at the end of the November Basho. What do you think on Kinbozan? Thumbs up, thumbs down for an Ozeki run this year, and why?
I think I'm gonna go kind of wild and just give him a thumbs up. I
Oh!
think I know it doesn't really make sense, but I just feel like in my gut he went through the bad period, and I'm hoping like this is just his wild back upswing. I don't think he got higher than what Mega Shear 4 last time.
Let's see,
But
I'll
I
pull up his...
think he's coming back up. He's more experienced. There's a lot of new or people he can chew through, but he also has the advantage of he's been up here before. I'm gonna give him a yes.
And you're right. He only ever got to Maegashira 5, so even a little bit less. I love that though because again, we all had such high hopes for him, and then there were these comments from his coach actually when he had his first bad tournament, kind of got smacked down. This is not when he got sent out of the division, but his coach said, "Great, maybe this will motivate him to practice harder." Like his coach was throwing these veiled criticisms at him, saying he's not working hard enough. Like he's been relying just on physical strength and his body and things like that. So I like the idea that going down to Juryo was the motivation, the kick he needed to actually push himself forward. So I love your thumbs up. That is a wild one. So right now I'm going to keep a little tally here. Kimbo's on. We are going thumbs up. With this, another newcomer who I ended up picking for my fantasy team and that disappointed me wildly, a Mongolian coming across, one of the younger, newer Mongolians into the division, really disappointed in his first Basho, but then bounced back in November. Onokatsu, 7-8 in his Maegashira 14 debut, and only fell one spot to Maegashira 15 as he should, and then went 9-6. So looked pretty good. He'll be fighting in the mid Maegashiras at 12. What do you think about Onokatsu? Does he have enough in the tank right now? He's only like 25, or he'll turn 25 in May, something like that. But Onokatsu, thumbs up, thumbs down on an Ozeki run this year.
That is definitely a thumbs down. Not that
Oh,
he's it's
baby.
not that he's not good, but I think
Uh-huh.
like from the performance we've seen, I'm like he's not gonna get that high this year.
Yeah. Fair enough. So right, because that's the thing about this little like the shtick of the game we're playing is it's not about in their career, it's about do they have what it takes right now. So that's kind of, I guess, the deciding factor. I think I'm with you. I don't think you can do it. I think it would be stellar to see if by the end of this year he could break into Sanyaku. That's what I'm looking for, is for him a year similar to what Hiradoumi had last year with his Komusubi fighting.
Hmm.
How about this? So here's a big one. Here's a real question where now that we've already got Kimbozan in the mix, but Takeru Fuji. This man is a mammoth. We talked about it. I've been talking about how like I was disappointed with this November, but it was still 11 wins. That's insane. Those are Ozeki numbers right there. Oh sorry, 10 wins. Ooh, big yeah. But still, double digit wins is not disappointing, but I was disappointed by that because his other tournaments were all these 13 win championships. In January of last year, 13-2, he wins Juryo. Then in March, 13-2, wins Makuuchi, sets a new historic record. Obviously injured for May and July, comes back in September, 13-2, wins Juryo, and then the 10 wins. So like Takeru Fuji, thumbs up, thumbs down. Is he an Ozeki by the end of this year?
I truly think he's the biggest shot at being at being the one who could follow up after Onosato.
Right. I think it's just health, right? Like the injury is the only thing that stopped him from going on an Ozeki run in the first place, in my opinion.
Mhm. Oh, I absolutely agree. And like a 10-5 being your worst tournament is
Hmm.
wild when you look at a lot of these guys. Even like
Yeah.
the upper guys who have been here for a while.
Right. And the thing, I think the reason I always say I was disappointed with his 10-5 is because of his losses to Toki Hayate and Shona Naomi within the first week of the tournament. He should not lose to those guys. What it was his first tournament back in Makuuchi. I don't know. I mean, you can cut him some slack, but if he gets those out, then he's 12-3, and that's the kind of record, not in this particular November, but normally that you need in order to contend for a Basho. So I agree. That's definitely got to be one of our thumbs up, and probably the best shot that we've got in this. How about another Mongolian, Oshoma? So I found him pretty disappointing in Juryo and even early Maegashira's Makuuchi, I'm sorry. But I really felt like I was proven wrong because in both May and September he had 10-win tournaments. Now he did sandwich in there a 7-8 in July and an absolutely abysmal 4-11 in November. Um, but Oshoma, what do you think? Is that guy a thumbs up or thumbs down in this next generation?
Uh, that one's tough. I think I'm gonna go no. After following up a 4-11, even I'm wildly an optimistic person, but I think even I would have trouble with that.
I agree. I don't think we need to spend too much time on this. That one is just not. I He'll probably be good. I don't know. He strikes me as a guy who maybe has a career similar to an Aoyama or one of these guys who's like a Sekiwake, which is great. Daisho right now, who has had like Daisho has put together Ozeki quality stretches, and it just hasn't happened. The timing's been just a tiny bit off and stuff like that. I could totally see that being Oshoma's career. But speaking of timing being off, the Sekiwake denied Hiradoumi after that massive tournament at Komusubi, when normally everyone's first trip up to Komusubi, they get absolutely obliterated. Instead, Hiradoumi stares the challenge right in the face and has this wonderful 10-5 Gino show record, but because of the way the Bansuke fell, got sort of roadblocked, got put back at Komusubi, then went 7-8, dipped down to Maegashira 1, and is coming off of another 4-11, just like we saw with Oshoma. So he got obliterated. Now he's still fighting at Maegashira 5, which is good, but I mean, when he had that 10-5 Komusubi performance, I really would have been like, wow, is Hiradoumi going to be a shock Ozeki contender? What do you think? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Can he make Ozeki this year?
I know I literally just said the opposite about Oshoma, but coming
Hmm.
off the exact same score. But I do think the advantage of obviously coming from a make sure 5 versus coming from 9,
Hmm.
I kind of lean towards yes. I mean, he doesn't have as much to. It's just like you said, it was the 10-5 Komusubi where I'm like, nobody does that well in
And
their
that's
first
even
time. Like they usually it's like a Tobizaru, you get up there and you get absolutely obliterated. But I'm like, he held it.
Yeah. And the one thing that gives me pause with him is that in that 10-5 record, like it's simultaneously a positive and a negative. He lost to the guys he was supposed to lose to. But
Hmm.
if you're gonna be Ozeki, you gotta turn some of those around. He lost to Terunofuji, Hoshoryu, Daisho, Kotozakura, and Wakataka Kage. Those are fine L's to take, right? That's not a problem. Um, but if you want to challenge for Ozeki, you have to turn a couple of those around. I'm not saying you have to beat all those guys, but you gotta turn it around. However, He did beat the other young challengers, a couple who we're going to talk about here. Atami Fuji, Gonoyama, Koto Shoho at the time was doing well, and he beat him. He beat an old guard, Ozeki Mitake Umi. He beat Kirishima. He beat Takakeisho. You know what version of Takakeisho was that? But beat Abi, and he beat Onosato. So like, I don't know. Like I can't criticize that record. I just like you can't have 5 losses and get to Ozeki. That's not how it works, right? Like if you had 3 straight 10-5s, you don't have your 33 wins.
No, and I agree. Getting that final stretch is the difference of like you get to be in the Sanyaku versus like you get to be at the top. Like that is the
Mhm.
difference.
Yeah. But for me, I think what gives me faith and why I would give him a thumbs up is just now he's one of these guys that we're talking about who has been there, who's been in the Sanyaku, knows what that takes, and has succeeded in the Sanyaku. So I mean, I'm thumbs upping Hiradomi. At this point, we're gonna have like 12 Ozekis at the end of the year. I don't know. Whatever. Okay, but now there are a few guys here all at once. I think I'm going to throw all 3 of them at you at once because I kind of lump them all together in my head, but the 2 Maegashira 3s, Gonoyama, the protege of Goeido, a great one of the greatest Ozekis of this modern generation. The other Maegashira 3 is Oho, the grandson of the great Taiho, who really started to turn it on. Maybe if not for some controversial comments on a YouTube channel by his dad, maybe that's why the JSA denied him a debut at Sanyaku. I don't know. But so Oho's in there. And then a Tommy Fuji, who feels like he has been kind of considered like the JSA is pushing him really hard. He's great with fans. Like he's the kind of guy that they really want to be ahead, a lead of their sport, but it really hasn't happened. He's been just struggling in the joy constantly. So those 3 guys, Gonoyama, Oho, Atami Fuji. Do you give any thumbs up to these guys based on what we've seen before, or are they all thumbs down based on the fact that they've been here trying last year and couldn't break through?
I really like want to give all of them thumbs up, but like you said, they all have the exact same problems that they just tank as soon as they get up to like that Komusubi Megashira one. And I just don't like I want to. I think they should be good and like they all are super talented.
Hmm.
And I just don't know why it's just not clicking for them. Like Atami Fuji spent what 90% of last year between Megashira 1 and 2,
Let's see. Yeah, I mean,
but
I'll
I
go pull
just
the exact numbers, but you
couldn't
keep talking.
get it.
Yeah. He fought at Maegashira 3, Maegashira 2, Maegashira 1, Maegashira 1, Maegashira 2, Maegashira 1. Like, yeah, he spent the entire last year in the Joy, which is great. By the same token, the same way as for my Hirodoumi argument, that means he's fighting nothing but the best constantly, and he's doing fine. It's more 7 and 8s than 8 and 7s, but he's in there banging bodies. And physically, he's got it all. He's got this pedigree. He's got Teruno Fuji kind of, training him, and he's in Isegahama Beya. Um, and for all 3 of these guys, it's not that we think that we think all 3 of those guys, at least at this point in their career, look like they have the potential to make an Ozeki run at some point in their career. But I I wouldn't maybe a Tommy Fuji, but I'm so unconfident. I would thumbs down all 3 of those guys.
I feel like they all, like you said, they all have the talent, but it's like it didn't click for them last year. They all kind of stayed in this general range. Oho did make a solid climb. I want to give him
Mhm.
that, but
I feel
I
like
don't.
Oho was denied. I feel like he should have had the Komusubi last year, but there was drama off the dohyo for
I
it.
agree,
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
It just I don't know. I don't know if I see it for them this year.
Mhm.
Those top ranks are just so hard.
That's the thing is it's so good up here at the top right now. And then even just I'm gonna throw in one extra wild card. So the shtick was we wanted to kind of talk about this new generation, not the old guard, but NHK World had Demon Kaka, who's a musician, but he was a high school sumo wrestler, whatever. They have him on, and hilariously, they pointed out his predictions from last year that he got right about who would make Ozeki, who'd be winning tournaments and things like that. Um, and then his like big prediction for this year is actually he said, I believe Takanosho will be an Ozeki this year. So setting aside our other thumbs up, thumbs down comes like, what do you think of that? Is Takanosho gonna make an Ozeki run this year?
I want it so badly, but I truly have no faith in it.
I know. I'm like, I kind of think this guy knows more about sumo than me, but I'm like, what? Because Takanosho's our yo-yo boy. He does do great when he's at like Maegashira 5 and then gets himself up to Maegashira 1 or Komusubi and gets blasted. 3 years ago, I was definitely picking Takanosho to make Ozeki in the race between him and Mitakeumi as these kind of late bloomers in there, but Mitakeumi got it and Takanosho got hurt and kind of crumbled. Um, but so I bring him up to pair him. One, because he's Maegashira 1, so he's right in there in the joy with these guys. But with Gonoyama, Oho, Atami Fuji, I would not be shocked for any of those guys to be having a Takanosho-esque sort of later in their career hitting Ozeki. Um, I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of what I would say about all those fellas. How do you feel about that?
No, I think that 100%. I agree.
Yeah. But that is not all. I did want to say there were many comments that I thoroughly appreciated, but without you on the show, we missed our Obby update. Give me your thoughts on Obby for this upcoming tournament, for this upcoming year. Talk to me about how you liked his year last year.
Abi is obviously going to be a Yokozuna by the end of the year.
Yeah, he was the
Uh,
only reason he's not in our Ozeki conversation is because he's going to be Yokozuna.
yeah, it's because it's so obvious he's going to hit
Right,
that
right.
high. No, I
I'm sorry.
honestly,
Is
he
it
did.
obvious?
Dang it, I wish I thought of that myself.
Okay, okay, go
I
ahead.
mean, he really is like the epitome of like the Komusubi Sekawake.
Yeah,
Like he
yeah.
just it's so funny because everybody talks about he's so one dimensional, but
Hmm.
he trips up everybody. He is one of the biggest roadblocks to truly winning a tournament because he
Yep,
will ruin your chances. And you
yep,
know what he's going to do, but he's still
yep,
going to get you with it.
yep.
And I
He's
see
so
him
good
this
at
year
it. Yeah.
probably doing the same thing. Realistically, he's not going to get above Sekewake. I could see him spending more time up there this year,
Hmm. I
but yeah,
I
probably
agree.
the same. Sekewake to make sure one.
Yeah. We've talked about that with him, and it's frustrating because he's so good, but I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I think his window to get Ozeki has passed. But that should same as Takanosho, right? I just think that the window's passed. He's over like Daisho too. Overqualified to be a Sekiwake, but Ozeki's a different beast. And that brings up one other young gun who I left out kind of intentionally, kind of just like Hakuoho. The answer is no. So I'm gonna say like as in like it's gonna be more positive than what I'm about to say. Like, has he missed his window? Is he one of these guys who missed his window because of that shoulder injury, because he fell apart, because he on his second stint down in Jurio really struggled and was not the impressive force that he was when he was streaking all the way up the Bonsuke after his debut. Because again, remember he was Onosato before Onosato easily. So he debuts in January of 2023. Makushita 7-0 wins it. Jurio 10-5, okay, whatever. Then goes 14-1 in Jurio for May, gets into Makuuchi, goes 11-4, wins a Kanto show and a Gino show, and was in there for a potential chance to win that thing, but gets hurt in that debut, misses two tournaments, comes back 6-1 in Makushita, that's great, but Jurio 8-7, 5-6-4. Bounces back in July with 11-4, treads water at 8-7, then 10-5. I'm worried, is January going to be a treading water tournament? Are we seeing slower rise up? Do you put him in the same category as guys like, I would compare him more to Takeru Fuji, looking at guys we talked about, but our other yeses in that conversation were Hiradoumi because he'd already been there, and Kinbozan because we thought he was going to be there, but motivation seemed to be the issue, and maybe he's addressed motivation. Here it's like injury. What do you think about Hakuoho's chances?
I actually had the exact same thought in my head comparing it to Takeru Fuji. Like logically, I should be able to like follow that exact same path in my brain
Yeah,
for Hakuoho, but I just don't.
yeah.
I just it was the slow rise through Jurio, which should have been so easy for him
Hmm.
compared to what he fought in his one time up here.
Right. It's that we haven't seen him in Makuuchi for over a year, and that he spent pretty much all of last year in Jurio. The only tournament that he wasn't in Jurio, he was in Makushita. It was worse than that. 5 tournaments in Jurio it took him to come up when his first stint down in Jurio included a 10-5 and a 14-1, right? Like he went 24-6 the first time around. Um, I just thought he was gonna cruise through that, and he didn't. So I don't
I
know.
just don't have a good read on him at the moment.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. It's like I would, and here in the comments, like rip us for this because I really want to say the opposite, but in our thumbs up, thumbs down, I would thumbs down him, and it's because I want to see what his first Maegashira tournament looks like. The difference with Takeru Fuji is that he was back for November and threw up double digit wins. That kind of re-solidified my confidence, and I just don't know if he goes 8-7 from Maegashira 15. I'm gonna be disappointed.
I just Yeah, like I think based on just entirely based on what we've seen from
Yeah,
2024, I do have to say no. But like you said, like that could change this tournament easily.
yeah. Right. And there were many people in the comments to the preview video, and they brought up like I think they're right when the idea is like actually coming off of such a serious injury and surgery, we should actually be stoked if he reels off three Kachikochis here, even at the bottom, and does sort of a slow rise to the mids. Um, if he spent half a year doing 8-7s, like that would probably be good. It would mean he's healthy. It would mean he can compete at this level. And then we hope that the second half of the year he turns it on. The only reason that makes me give him a thumbs down is if that's the path he takes, then he doesn't have time to make that Ozeki run.
Yeah, I think in that case, if he follows that trail, maybe 2026.
Ugh,
But
yep,
and there
yep.
really isn't a rush for it. It's like I just don't
No,
know
he's
how to
young.
read like with that injury. It's
Yeah,
hard. Like with Takeru Fuji, same thing with Takeru Fuji. We have such a small pool to look at
yep.
that it just makes it harder to make that decision.
Yeah, I believe he's still 21 right now. I don't think he turns 22 until this summer. So,
Oh God,
plenty of time. Yeah, I know, right? That's how
the
good he is.
children.
They're children. I know this new generation. So tons of exciting guys, but I did want to give you a chance to give me who is your dark horse. So it's probably one of these guys, maybe, or maybe it's your boy Abi. Who's your dark horse to win this Basho when we have two Ozekis competing to become a Yokozuna announcing he's returning, he's going to fight, and oh by the way, Onosato, the guy who was the inspiration for that entire last segment, is still up there fighting at Ozeki. Like it's insanely top heavy. In a tournament like this, how do you even find a dark horse and who is yours?
I'm gonna be honest. For some reason, after we talked about it, I'm gonna choose Takanosho.
Oh, oh
It
God.
doesn't make any sense, but I'm like, I get it. It's just a vibe I'm going with.
I love this. I love this very much. So I would love that. He is really good. He has the body. He's always kind of been someone who, whether it's injuries or what, it's been surprising that he hasn't done better. I kind of feel like, and I could be wrong, I kind of feel like he has really adapted well to needing to pick up the mantle of Takakeisho retiring. So now he is the man in Tokiwayama stable. And I, yeah, maybe I love him as a dark horse. I'm gonna say that I love him as a dark horse. He's fought all these big guys. He's not scared of them. He has the physicals for it. He's older, but he's not over his prime at all. He's still in the mix.
Yeah, there's almost nobody in the top that I can look at where I'm like, well, he can't beat them.
I
Onosato
love
and
it.
Terunofuji, well,
Yeah,
probably not, but that's it.
I love
Just the
it.
size.
Yeah. Um, I love it. So now though, who is if he's your dark horse? Who's your favorite? We've got three Ozekis and a Yokozuna in there. Who's your favorite to win this thing?
I need to see Kotozakuro win this.
Oh, give me some more.
This is like the chance where truly it's not even just I want him to win it just because it's like, oh great, I'm a huge fan of his, but it's also like this is his shot at Yokozuna and a Yokozuna that desperately needs this to happen.
Yeah,
But he has to earn it, and that's where I'm like, ooh, I don't know. He doesn't necessarily have the record for it, but
yeah.
I want it.
Do you think between him and Hoshoryu, the two candidates named as contenders for Yokozuna here, um, so you think Kotozakura is the more likely to get it, and do you think he's the more deserving over Hoshoryu?
Uh it's always tough when we talk about like deserving. Because I do think they both deserve it, but to be
Mm,
honest with you, it's always come back to like the scores for me have always been more impressive for Kotozakura, even with I believe fewer overall
yeah,
tournament wins.
yeah.
And
I
even since they
mean,
hit Ozeki, he's racking up just a little bit higher.
Yeah, he is. Now, Hoshoryu, I looked this up because I was surprised myself when I looked it up. Like, Hoshoryu did have a couple tournaments that were non-double digit wins, but they were the tournament he got injured in and the tournament after the injury, which was interesting. Because I've been like bigging up the fact that Kotozakura had only the one tournament that was out of double
Mhm.
digits last year. He was a massive performer, but like I think Kotozakura did so well that I was underselling actually how good of a year Hoshoryu had last year. But that said, I do agree with you because at the end of the day, Kotozakura did rack up more wins.
Yes, 100%. I think it just
Mhm.
comes down to that. Like Hoshoryu could do it. I think I'd be super excited for him to
Yeah.
get that Yokozuna slot, especially with how small he is. Seeing that
Yeah.
handoff.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think and then so Teru's coming I mean, are we seeing a full Teru? And I think what is wanted from everyone would be a changing of the guard, either like it was between Hakuho and Terunofuji, where even though Terunofuji lost, it was clear that this was passing off the baton. Um, but like Teru fighting, are we going to see him the whole time?
He hasn't fought since July.
Mm-hmm.
He could when he takes these big breaks. He comes back and he murders.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. The motivation is also different this time. I think for him.
Yeah.
It's not come back, clinch this win, get you like your record that you've been desperately wanting for years.
Mm-hmm.
It's more testing the lower people. So maybe I don't know. Maybe that makes a difference. The
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
headspace.
Yeah. I don't know. I would love to see, even if it's not 14-0, 14-0 going for the Zensho Yu show, I would love to see whoever gets this go through Teru. I think that would just
Yes.
be a better story. And like you said, the biggest thing he has going for him is that he just took all this time. And we've already said time and again, like an 85% Teru has been obliterating this generation. If we get a 75% Teru, can he be in contention against these guys who admittedly have stepped up their level since the last time Teru had a soft sort of U show?
Hmm. Yeah,
Either
I
way,
really
oh, go on.
with him. It's just a coin flip.
Yeah. Yep. Either way, great boss show coming. And beyond that, it's not just a great boss show. I'm excited for this year. And that's why I wanted to talk about these young guys. So let us know down in the comments of those guys we named. Like one, did we forget anyone who we should have lumped in to that conversation? I know we haven't talked about our beloved Aonishiki still down in Jurio. We'll see. Could he make a run from Jurio to Ozeki? No, but I would love it. Um, but of these guys, who is in there with this next generation? We've already seen at the top Onosato, Hoshoryu, Kotozakura look like they're about to define a generation moving forward. But I don't think that picture is complete, and I think some of these other guys are going to work their way into it. But who is it? Who's going to be at the top telling the stories for this next era of sumo? But it all has to start with January. So Nick, I'm glad you were able to burrow out of the snow. And thanks for talking with me, and thanks for watching, everybody. Talk to you again soon.